name is Beau C, and I am a drummer in the Magic Trio, a jazz quintet. Yeah.
Can you explain where you got that name?
Yeah, we were sort of going for like a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy type of situation, you know, like a 5 books in a trio situation. It came about as we were sort of forming a group, and originally we were a trio, and then we added 2 more people, and it just felt right to keep the name. Yeah, just kind of keep it going.
So this band got together for this performance and like sort of through a network of like fellow musicians, I would say, just people
100%.
that you know. Can you talk about how you sort of created this web of people, this network?
100%, this magical trio of 5 people. Yeah, I mean, the group was totally from a series of different relationships I've developed over time. First of all, I was the one that kind of formed the whole group, and the pianist in the band, Jonas, I actually go to school with, and we've been playing together in a separate band for I think we're almost in 2 years at this point, which is really exciting. The trombone player, his name is Ivan. I'd met him through a composition program I do, where one of the alumni from my program plays trombone at CSUN, and I needed a trombone player for this concert I do at my house called Beau C, or it was called Beau C, and I needed a trombone player, and so I reached out through my friend that played trombone at CSUN, and he recommended this guy named Ivan, and then I played with him, and he was incredible, and I was like, oh my goodness, why am I not playing with you all the time? And then I think CJ, who's our bass player, and Sean, who's our saxophone player, I'd met Sean through CJ. We'd played a couple of gigs a few times because I had a relationship with CJ's boyfriend, Dylan, who plays trumpet. It's just, there's like this, that's all to say, there's like this big network of musicians, especially in Los Angeles, that are all playing jazz and are all investing in that tradition in various ways. And, sometimes out of necessity, sometimes just out of curiosity, we sort of find each other. And it's really exciting. There's a lot of different ways you can connect like that.
How would you recommend somebody who's like not in that sort of space yet but wants to be? How would you recommend a young musician go about finding other people with similar interests?
Totally. I think it's actually I'm like especially qualified to answer that question because that was me. Not even like 2-3 years ago. I'm self-taught. And I think a lot of that community comes from like conservatory relationships. Like a lot of people that do the Colburn School downtown, or they take lessons together, or some sort of program or something. They do like Stanford Jazz Institute over the summer, or UCLA or something like that. And I never did any of those. I was just kind of doing my own thing. I think what it comes from, you just meet, it takes one person, like one relationship of one person you meet. Whether it's, playing at a jam session, like at the Mint in Santa Monica, they have like weekly jam sessions on Sunday nights, and you go to one of those things and you find someone else your age or someone else that you get along with, and, you just practice and there's some connection that's made. Then usually they have people that they know that they're playing with, and maybe they invite you on a gig, and then you make connections there, and then, the relationships you form from event to event and gig to gig eventually spans to be this really wide network, both within jazz but then just across genres of just musicians in the city that are all great people that you can make stuff with, and it's kind of the best. But it's definitely a process that takes time, and you definitely have to invest in it, but it's really accessible once you get your foot in the door.
So jazz does not seem like a traditional genre that teens are really playing in their like garage bands and stuff like that in the 21st century. What is it about jazz that really draws you and your groups into?
I think for me personally, I love the sort of agency that it gives the performers. Outside of the sort of, there's this interview Frank Zappa did where he was talking about the way he plays guitar and the way he solos, and I thought it was an interesting interview because he was talking about how he improvises during all the solos and how that's different than a lot of the other people in his genre. And I guess that's rock, but he was doing all sorts of crazy things. And he sort of talked about how that was sort of a freeing and sort of different understanding of the way music just meant something different to him than the way that it worked for him functionally. And I think what's cool to me about jazz is that exact sort of thing of when you play, you have this agency to have this call and response with the people around you, how you sort of make up and grow and converse as you're playing through different solos and through different melodic ideas. I also am really interested in the idea and interested in the long tradition of it. I'm very aware, I'm a white guy, and it's totally it stems from, and it is American folk music, which is inherently black music. And like I'm not like I totally understand that disconnect. At the same time, there is like a beautiful thing in sort of understanding where that music comes from, how it is like the basis for like a lot of the culture that we live in and love and see around us. Like, you know, a lot of the rap music comes from jazz, a lot of hip hop, R&B. It has roots in all that stuff, and so it's just one expression of many that I find particularly interesting to me, that I get to participate in a really engaged way, different than I guess other music sometimes.
Can you explain some other, on like a totally different note, can you explain some of the other music programs or like opportunities that people should know about that you have engaged in?
Totally. Well, it's outside of being the jazz drummer in the Magic Trio at Jazz Quintet, I am a composer, and that's like my main musical endeavor that I really invest my energy into. And I would say, like, hands down, the most influential thing that I've done that has helped me with my music, and both as a drummer and obviously as a composer, is the Los Angeles Philharmonic's Composer Fellowship program that they do. It's a free program for high schoolers. I think they take about 15 a year, and there's an application process. You apply in the spring, and then you find out if you're accepted early summer, and then it goes from October to June every year. I'm currently in my second year in the program, but yeah, it's like, I mean, it's one of the price has always been a thing for me. You know, like it's tough sometimes, especially for music programs and any type of like club sports or anything like that. Things can get really costly really quickly, and finding a free program like that is amazing, especially when, you know, the educators that are there that are teaching you are like the best composers in the world. Like it's really remarkable the things that you get, the access you get to have. You get to meet composers, you get to talk to people, and it's a really sort of exciting, like, hands-on experience in terms of it foray into, you know, the world of contemporary classical music in addition to other genres. Like it's completely enriched the way that I think about music in a much broader sense, when even though I'm writing, you know, orchestral music and string quartets and, you know, again, contemporary classical music, it's totally changed the way that I look at the, you know, the Latin music that I also compose and the jazz that I'm writing for and playing and contributing to. Like it really has totally shaped who I am as a musician, and also kind of as a person. I can't recommend it enough.
Can you talk a little bit about how you got into composition in the first place?
Yeah, you should. It's an important note for this story that I'm like terrible at video games, and that's important because I was writing music for like a while, and like I was writing like, can I swear? No, probably not. I was writing bad songs. I was writing really songs. Like it was really bad. I was writing really terrible songs, and when I was like 10, and I liked that because like I played piano and I sort of taught myself how to play piano, and I just sort of liked making things up, and I was always kind of into that. And then the pandemic happened, and what sort of happened with the pandemic is like all my friends were playing video games on Discord, and they were all talking and playing like Fortnite and stuff, and, you know, I was kind of like the lame kid that wasn't allowed to play Fortnite, and, you know, I was also terrible at Fortnite, so it was like, you know, I couldn't play these games, and I was sort of had my own thing to do, and I sort of found music production as like this game and like this thing I could do that was like this sandbox, and I could just play, and I did that for like a year, or like for however long we were in quarantine. And I just was making beats, and I was making like little instrumental things, and it was like either like assignments for classes or something else. It became this outlet where like I just could make things I liked. But I think for me, a lot of it was like just for me. Like I could control every single aspect of every instrument I could control exactly how it was going to sound, and exactly how, like, from start to finish, it was all just myself in it, which is cool, and that was fulfilling in its own way. It introduced me to a lot of different genres of music. Like I was really into Jay Dilla and Madlib and like hip hop, and, you know, listening to the things that they were sampling like introduced me to different genres of music. It's actually how I got into jazz in the first place, was listening to it through the rap that I was into. And then I sort of came to a point where I realized that I wanted something more than that. Like I didn't want to just have it be just confined to me. And I liked the idea of writing something that included others, and something that I could share with other people and perform with other people, and it became this collaborative thing in that way. And that kind of led me to composition, where I started notating my own work, and I applied for that Composer Fellowship program, and I didn't get in after the end of 9th grade. And then I joined a band with Jonas, the piano player in the Magic Trio Jazz Quintet. And, you know, I did this other composition program called Brightwork New Music, high school composer initiative, which is also a very great program, which I would say is a great starting program if you've never composed before. Great program to jump into. And I just started diving into all these different things and growing in my understanding of it, and eventually I have just grown my toolkit. I have this great Batman toolkit of possibilities that I can now throw onto a piece of sheet music, as opposed to just my laptop, like Logic Pro or whatever my DAW was at the time, which is like a digital audio workstation to like record music onto. I'm sorry if I'm like mansplaining this, I don't mean to be. But yeah, like I just have sort of grown in my abilities with that sort of thing, and it's become a much more collaborative process, which is always what I was hoping it would be.
So for jazz, you're playing a lot of covers, a lot of covers. So what would you say like is the role of a cover in music?
Well, I think it varies across different traditions, but I feel like generally it is meant to sort of uphold tradition. I think in jazz especially, that's a big element of things. Obviously people are composing new jazz pieces all the time, and that's obviously there is a constant force of pushing the discipline forward in terms of the new creative ideas coming out. At the same time, I think a really important part of jazz is the celebration of what came before. I mean, a lot of in jazz they're not really called covers, they're called like standards. And a big idea that sort of comes from that, like a lot of the songs that we're playing weren't even necessarily composed by the people that kind of made them famous. They're originally like musical theater songs that were written in the 20s and up to like the 40s and 50s, and then those sorts of ideas then translate, and people will take those chord changes and they'll take those melodies and they'll perform them, and it sort of gives it a new life and a new meaning and a new tradition. And then you'll go to like a jazz club at those jam sessions, and then there's this common language of everyone knows everyone will have a certain sort of bank of knowledge with it, which they can sort of say, oh, like, let's play You in the Night and the Music, or let's play All the Things You Are. And then enough people will know what that is and know how to contribute to that. And then all of a sudden there's like this instant community that's created because everybody is aware and understands that thing. Like it connects, it binds people, and it's all from this love of this tradition and celebrating the tradition that came before. I mean, you can see that in other covers of other songs. I mean, even in jazz they do covers of non-jazz standards. Like Robert Glasper did this cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit. Robert Glasper is like this very popular jazz piano player who like kind of defined like the sort of neo-soul jazz sound that you sort of see in like mid-2000s to now, especially in Los Angeles. He's currently the head of the Los Angeles Blue Note jazz club that's started up here, I think 2024, 25, something like that. And that he did a cover of that with like a talk box or something, and it was like really cool. And it's sort of all just about celebrating what came before. That's how I see it, at least, which I really appreciate.
Okay, thank you so much. We're gonna do some rapid fire ones now.
Lit.
Okay. Who is your biggest influence musically?
Oh God, my biggest influence musically? Ravel. Oh, I don't know. No, that's true. I don't even know if that's true. Okay, keep going.
Who is your current favorite artist?
Current favorite, like Steely Dan.
Favorite album?
Mingus right now.
Favorite song?
Juanito Alimaño by Willie Colon.
Do you have one piece of advice you'd like to share for aspiring musicians who are in your position, or like the position you were in a few years ago?
Yeah, just be curious. I mean, just like that was the one thing that I think allowed me to keep doing these sorts of things, is like my curiosity outweighed any feeling of, man, I suck so hard right now. Like seek the type of curiosity that allows you to fall on your face in front of as many people as possible, as many times as possible, until you stop falling on your face and you get to do this thing that you love, and it just grows and the curiosity remains. Then you can keep growing, and then you fall on your face in a different way, and you just keep falling on your face just higher and higher and higher. You fall, it's just a different type. You fall up and you grow, and it's like it sort of allows you to be unafraid of failure, because you're not after success as much as you're after growth and the pursuit of your own desires and ideas and what excites you.
All right, and last question, is there anything else you might want to tell us?
Oh, yeah. So, June 13th, there is an event that I'm hosting called Beau's Place, what was previously known as Bocella. It is a music and arts festival happening in Van Nuys on Hamlin Street, right by Van Nuys High School. And it's going to be a paid-for event, but it's a charity event helping Special Camp, a camp for kids and young adults with disabilities, based in San Juan Capistrano. We're trying to raise $110,000 to essentially go towards costs of operations and financial aid for campers. And it's going to be on June 13th. It's a music festival. If you know any artists, you can reach out to my Instagram. I'm really hoping can you put my Instagram on the thing? Yeah, and just get in contact with me and we can grow this thing. Tell everyone you know. We won't raise enough money unless we have people coming. We'll have local bands that are going to be there. Some really exciting musicians. I'll be there. For some members of the Magic Trio Jazz Quintet will be performing. And it's going to be really exciting. We have lots of cool things going around, and it's a celebration of the local art in the community, both visual and performance. And it's going to be the first of many. This is going to be a national festival in a few years, so you're getting in on the ground floor of something very exciting. And come to Mocha Teen Night on April 18th from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's going to be very, very exciting. I'm very excited. I hope you are too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.